Hello everybody, and welcome to another Team Top Deck testing video. Although I guess today's more of a bit of a practice video. I've just fallen a little bit out of practice with the Legacy format. Normally I play in paper, sold some stuff off so I'd be able to afford some on MTGO. And I'm just gonna go through some friendly games until I feel confident enough to start putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and playing in actual queues and being capable of prizes. So today I'm going to be playing a little bit of blue-green omnitell. It's one of my favorite combo decks in the format. I just think it's very powerful and resilient, and doesn't really care too much about anything companion decks are doing, because we can always, normally they can turn one, I can only turn two because I've opted not to play Lotus Petal. An Emrakul hard cast off of an Omniscience. So for those of you unfamiliar with how the deck works, let's start with the lands. We have multiple copies of Ancient Tomb, which taps for 2 mana and deals 2 damage to you. 2 copy of City of Traders that does the same thing except for the damage, and when you play another land you have to sacrifice it. 1 Beseiju, who shelters all, that will let you pay 2 life, add a colorless, and when you spend that mana, if it's on an instant or sorcery, it can't be countered. Very useful with our key spell Show and Tell. 3 Floodstrand, 4 Misty Rainforest, 1 Mystic Sanctuary, which is very powerful in this deck because it lets us use a fetch land to set our next draw up as a Show and Tell if our first one got countered, and also lets us play around Surgical Extraction on our Show and Tell. 1 Snow-Covered Forest for the sake of playing around Blood Moon. 4 snow-covered islands, and 1 tropical island, because we don't really need much green, and if we do, we have Arkham's Astrolabe, which will let us fix our mana while cantripping. Mostly, we have this to go with the Icefang Quaddles, and our sideboard plan, which I'll get to later. 3 copies of Spell Pierce. Normally, these would be main deck copies of Veil of Summer. I opted for only 1 Veil and 3 Spell Pierce in the main, because Veil of Summer can only be used defensively. It doesn't, for instance, stop a lightning bolt targeting you for lethal against a burn deck, which shouldn't be too much of a problem if I'm being honest. It doesn't stop an Oko, which can be a problem. It doesn't stop, a lot of things. So I opted for Spell Pierce. It's also better in the mirror match at stopping an opposing Show and Tell, or in other combo matchups. Veil of Summer is better in some of those, such as Storm, where you just get to play it and then your opponent can't even kill you that turn as long as they're not on one of the red variants. Well, I say red variants, I mean grape shot variants that have been popping up. 3 copies of Preordain. Arkham's Astrolabe kind of eats into the cantrip slot, so we don't get to play as many. We don't get to go necessarily up to 4. I'm even being greedy playing this many if I'm honest. But I think this deck mostly, in game 1 at least, just wants to find its combo. 4 copies of Ponder, one of the best cantrips in Magic. And Brainstorm, the best cantrip in the entirety of the Legacy format. Just drawing 3, putting 2 cards back from your hand in any order is so powerful. 1 copy of Impulse. This is for our Firemind's Foresight kill, which I will get to later. 3 Icefang Quaddle. Just a nice little roadblock that also cantrips for Show and Tell. Lets us put any permanent from our hand into play, ignoring its mana cost. So normally Omniscience, then cast Emrakul, get the kill that way. Sometimes we'll just jam a turn 2 Emrakul. We didn't come here not to put a 15 power beat annihilating 6 beater into play, so it's not the best, as weird as that sounds to you people not familiar with Legacy, but a turn 2 Emrakul is a little too easy to answer. So normally we want to get that extra turn trigger off of the Omniscience. 1 copy of Intuition, just so that we can go ahead and grab 3 copies of Omniscience or 3 copies of Show and Tell. Basically, it's just instant speed blue demonic tutor. 4 copies of Cunning Wish, let us grab anything out of our sideboard. Lets us kill at instant speed, also lets us grab shared summons to just really put pressure on our opponent with the actual combo. So once we Omniscience, we can shared summon, or go get Cunning Wish, shared summons, grab Emrakul, grab Icefang. Play Icefang first. That way you have Edict protection for your Emrakul. Then you play out Emrakul. As for putting pressure on your opponent, you can use it to grab intuition. You can use it to, what do you call it? You can use it to grab a lot of things out of sideboard. Use it to grab Veil of Summer to help protect you. It's just very, very powerful. Force of Will, enough said there. Just 0 mana counterspell, protects your combo, protects you from combo. 4 Omniscience, and 2 Emrakul are our targets for Show and Tell. Sideboard, we have a Trick Bind. This for if we don't have the ability to go for the Firemind's Foresight kill, and our opponent has put something into play with Show and Tell that can destroy our Omniscience, we can just Cunning Wish for Trick Bind and stop that there. Echoing Truth, just an answer to any kind of permanent, mostly Chalice of the Void. So if our opponent has something in play that would prevent us from continuing to look through our deck, or from going for the kill, we get to bounce it back to the opponent's hand. 1 Flusterstorm, just a hard to counter spell that we can grab with Cunning Wish. Carpet of Flowers, this one actually leaves the sideboard. Just a good way to get a lot of mana against blue decks. Sometimes you can actually hard cast your Emrakul off of Carpet of Flowers mana, which is pretty funny. Rarely comes up, but it's always fun when it does. Surgical Extraction, little bit of Grave Hate, little bit of combo hate. Sometimes I'll bring this in against things like Dredge, where there's no way Cunning Wishing for it is going to be fast enough. But honestly, against Dredge, mostly we're just going to try and kill them before they kill us. We are a combo deck that can go off on turn 2. Release the Ants, part of the Firemind's Foresight kill. Basically, the way this works is our opponent's not going to have something that costs more than Emrakul. They might have an Emrakul, though. So we're going to brainstorm an Emrakul to the top of our deck while we have an Omniscience out and release the Ants them to death. You might be wondering, well, why would you need to do that if you could just play an Emrakul? Well, what if our opponent's doing something at instant speed, right? So we have our Omniscience out. They put something with a trigger in so that they can respond before we can cast Emrakul, and they respond by casting something that blows up Omniscience. Well, we respond with Cunning Wish. We grab Firemind's Foresight. We grab another Cunning Wish, an Impulse, and a Brainstorm. We Impulse looking for something expensive. We then Brainstorm to dig as deep as possible. We put the most expensive thing we have back, and we cast Release the Ants targeting them. It does 1 damage. We Clash, which is like a competitive scry. Our opponent looks at the top card of their library. We look at the top card of our library. We reveal them, and then we get to put them wherever, scry them. And if we win, which means we aren't tied, or have a lesser mana cost, then we get Release the Ants back to our hand and can kill them in response to whatever they're trying to do to us. Shared Summons, we have an Omniscience in play, we Cunning Wish, we get Shared Summons. It kills a lot faster than Release the Ants. If you're playing in paper, don't worry about this. You honestly don't need it. If you're not playing in paper, play this. It's miserable to click through all of that. I tried playing without it. I couldn't manage it. It felt like dying. It takes so much time to just go click, 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 click. And then you've done like 3 damage and you've got to keep going. It's just a quality of life thing, honestly. Otherwise, it might be another surgical, it might be another carpet. Doesn't much matter. 3 copies of Shifting Ceratops. That's right, standard playables. So this is here because it can't be Force of Willed. It can't be blocked by True Name Nemesis. It can't be blocked it can't be bounced via a Brazen Borrower. It comes down. Your opponent has to have some removal for it, which that's going to be post-board. Look at this deck. Why are they leaving removal in? Unless they know about it. And it's going to be able to block Delvers. It's going to be able to trample through Pyromancer tokens. It has haste if you need to kill a Miracles player quickly. It's just going to do basically everything that you need. It's a threat that can win on its own. You will occasionally find yourself putting it in off a Show and Tell. Your opponent can't Oko it. It's just a really good card, and you can play it on turn 2 a number of ways, actually. On turn 2, only one way with Show and Tell. On turn 3, you can pretty easily cast it off Soul Land, Astrolabe, and Green Source. Just, what we try and do post-board to fair decks. Return to Nature. It's another thing we can Cunning Wish for. If we have an Omniscience out, we can also use it to blow up anything they might have put in that might be a problem for us. Although, come to think of it, that's not really what we're going to do. We're going to Cunning Wish, find Return to Nature, blow up their Chalice of the Void, blow up their Ensnaring Bridge, blow up whatever enchantment they may or may not have that's stopping us. Against Dredge, it's a card that has text, so there's that. 2 copies of Veil of Summer in the board to round out the 3 that we're going to be playing, and 1 Firemind's Foresight for the kill. Honestly, you don't need shared summons, you just need Firemind's Foresight. That card is absolutely absurd, and it only eats up 2 sideboard slots for the kill. And that's the deck we're going to be playing, so I'm going to make sure that, okay, good, this is actually recording. I was just thinking how miserable that would be. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right on into these games. We will not be doing that. We'll be doing tournament practice. I'm sorry for all of you who are going to... Hold up, leave event. Let's go play against whoever this is. Alright. Yes, I would like to play first. That is something Show and Tell is very much a fan of. Let's resize this a little. Always remember, press 8 at the beginning. It will vastly help. Oh god, I hadn't heard these new sounds yet. Oh, that's miserable. I'm gonna keep this. We have a Brainstorm to fix basically anything. A Cunning Wish can find an Intuition eventually, and a Preordain to help us dig on turn 1. I only wish I had a Spell Pierce with this hand. So, I'm gonna lead on. Oh man, I think I'll turn those off for future videos. Alright, I'm gonna put both of these on top, and I'm gonna draw the Force of Will now. Alright, so a Plateau. Alright, so this is potentially Burn, potentially the Prowess deck. Burn sometimes splashes white in Legacy, although it's very rare. If I'm being completely honest, I don't know exactly what's going to happen to me here. Plateau normally means Goblins. Alright, so our opponent is doing well. That is nice to know. I'm gonna be assuming there's gonna be some kind of Pyroblast shenanigans happening. I'm gonna go ahead and Brainstorm. We can't kill this turn, and I'm not entirely sure what we're up against, but we still don't want 2 Omniscience. And we do want the 3rd land. We're gonna want the Ice Fang. We're gonna want the Cunning Wish to kill. So we just need to Show and Tell now. So I'll put back the Ponder as well. Shuffle away. Is better if you're not going to continue looking that turn for your kill, because you don't have to keep everything. So 2 bottom. 2 bottom. Alright. There's an Emrakul. We can now pitch the Cunning Wish to our Force of Will, because we have something else to do immediately after our Omniscience comes down. Scalding Tarn. Hopefully they don't show us a blue source here. This is a strange Jeskai Delver. Okay. Maybe they're... You do play against some weird ones in the Legacy practice room, but I need to get used to this again. Boros Charm. Alright, I'm gonna definitely call this Prowess. Hold up, is that... Alright, good. I was gonna say, is that doing something I wasn't expecting? Alright, I'll go ahead and take the 4. This turn isn't too bad. And I'd rather force a not Pyroblast, a Fire Blast, which lets them sacrifice 2 mountains to deal 4 damage. My reasoning there is that they would be expecting to kill us by sacrificing their only means of playing spells, and we'd be able to stop them dead right there. Alright, so I'm going to find a green source on their turn, and I'm going to use Ice Fang Quaddle, obviously snow-covered forest, and I'll use Ice Fang Quaddle to trade with their Monastery Swift Spear and stop the damage. It's already been a lightning bolt though, so it's not like they need it to do too much more. Rift Bolt. Legacy Burn. Very viable, honestly, though. I'm really not sure what the white's for, though. It might be a sideboard thing, as well as Boros Charm. You don't really need Boros Charm in Legacy, though. You have a Flame Rift, which is just 2 mana, 4 damage. Yep, there's a Chain Lightning. That's fine. Nope, can't redirect that back at them. They attack. We drop to 8. We grab a snow-covered forest and deploy an Ice Fang Quaddle, who will have Death Touch because of our 3 snowlands. If they try and kill it, I may or may not force. Right, I will definitely force. Still another blocks. There we go. Stopped 2 damage there and 2+ next turn, so that's not bad. Alright, our turn. We will tap our green source for Astrolabe. We can still kill if we brainstorm into it, so I'm going to give that a shot. Intuition. Alright. So I'll get rid of 1 City of Traders and 1, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't both Intuition and. Alright, so next turn I'll be able to float the mana. I think maybe I just want both of them and I get rid of the Cunning Wish and the Emrakul? No, because I'm not shuffling anything this turn, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Alright, so I'll get rid of the Cunning Wish, and I don't need to draw. Alright, so it's on top, and then that'll be on top. Okay. Figured it out. So now if I need to Force of Will something and Spell Pierce something this turn, I'll be able to Intuition and still cast Show and Tell next turn. I just have to tap some traders pre-intuition or pre-second land drop. 1/5, that's fine. We won't drop another point of life though, because of the Spell Mastery Uncounterable burn spell. Costs 3 mana. That card is very, very real in Legacy Burn, because people will typically go ahead and drop down to you know, 1 life and just plan on countering, well not 1, but like 2 life and plan on countering the lethal burn spell there. Luris, I have no problem. They'll play the Swift Spear. We will not force it actually, because now they don't have mana for it and we'd rather force the actually lethal. I see what the white's for now. I completely forgot about Luris, and I'm not used to looking for companions on MTGO. Alright. I imagine we're about to be pyroblasted. Not pyro. Fire Blasted. So we'll respond with Spell Pierce. Doesn't matter to us. Okay. We take 2 down to 3. Okay. Alright. Tap for 2. Play a land. Always yield. But it'll end at the, there we go. Oh yeah. Gotta actually click the little colorless mana symbols from Soul Land, sadly. It's what you call a land that taps like a Soul Ring does for 2 mana. Alright, so here we're going to find Show and Tell, Show and Tell, Show and Tell. Alright. Now we cast Show and Tell. We put in Omniscience. We'll now hard cast Emrakul. Always yield. Okay. And we're going to just go ahead and kill them here with the shared summons. Our turn. I'll attack. They lose their board. And we're going to let them know that they're dead now, instead of waiting. Yes. And here we grab shared summons because we don't want to live a miserable life. Ice Fang and Emrakul. Okay. Deploy this. Alright, and there we have it. We take another turn with Emrakul, and we have lethal. So against Burn, I'm not sure we have anything, because we don't honestly need very much. I'll take out the Veil, that's pretty bad. Bring in the Flusterstorm, because it does something, and we're not exactly planning on Cunning Wishing for it. Let's see, is there anything else we want? I don't imagine so. Release the Ants. No, that stays in the board. That stays in the board. Alright, nothing for Burn because combo is its worst matchup. We'll leave in the Echoing Truth because that might actually be useful to wish for. Alright, and let's find out what is going to happen this time. I really wish I could have taken out that Deseju against Burn, but sadly we can't, and also Uncounterable, still relevant in this matchup because of Pyroblast. They will bring in most likely 4, potentially more 1-mana red counterspells that, you know, we don't exactly want countering our Show and Tells. This one needs lands and a lot more than that, so I'm going to go ahead and mull. This one only needs Show and Tell, but it has no way to dig, and a few too many copies of Omniscience there. I think I'm going to mull again. Like, I have a Force of Will, but that doesn't matter too much in this matchup. I need land plus Show and Tell, and that's, we can do better on 5, especially with land. Alright, we have a Show and Tell. We can turn to anything we draw. We have a Brainstorm. I'll keep this one. I don't want that in my hand. And I don't want... Yeah, and I don't want that. So, there we go. This might be ye olde infamous turn 1 Brainstorm. Depending on our opponent here. Reason being that we'd be able to basically we can kill the turn after. Normally you want to save your brainstorm until you know what you want to do with it. Here, we know what we want to do with it. We want to use it to draw an Emrakul. Or an Omniscience. Okay, but I think I'm gonna wait. Saving it a turn lets us see another card anyway. If our opponent does anything like Force of Will, we might, but I want to be able to shuffle away both cards from the brainstorm if they're bad. Alright, that makes me want to brainstorm. To save the life, potentially find a force and a thing to pitch. Alright. Put those in the wrong order. And yeah, this is something that we can't abide by, but the second brainstorm I think means we have to let them. Which sucks, but we don't really have anything else going for us. I just think that the brainstorm's more valuable than force fodder. Wish I put those in the right order. I meant to not draw the Ancient Tomb. Alas. So, yeah, I think I'm going to shuffle first. I'd rather brainstorm lock myself off of this new one than see cards I know what are already. I'm going here because I want to be able to use all of my mana if I draw more cantrips. And I did. So I'm probably going to use this ponder to shuffle. Unless I find something really good. I did not. Any order. Shuffle. And we are not in a good spot. And now remember, just because burn is supposed to be a good matchup doesn't mean that I am well practiced right now. And more importantly, it doesn't mean that we cannot lose. Alright. Magma Jet? That one's not typical. Huh. I mean, I like the card, I just don't think that one's exactly typically in the legacy versions of Burn. Or anything, really. That is one of my favorite standard legal burn spells, though. Not currently standard, but when it is standard. Just does so much. Alright, and what do we draw? If only it were an Omniscience. Yep. Maybe I should have, phew. Again. Alright. Do we even have a turn here? Nope. Alright, our opponent has it. If we cast Show and Tell, we'll die after next turn. Because of the Eidolon. Alright, so opponent had us there. I don't think we boarded wrong. I think we should have forced there. It just hadn't been evident at the time. And yeah, I'll go first. And I do think you can, especially in the lesson. That's a mulligan. One brainstorm, all lands? No, thank you. Alright, so all we need is a Show and Tell. So we'll go ahead and keep. We have 2 cantrips to find it, and we're getting rid of the Mystic Sanctuary. There we go. Rearrange my hand to better reflect the order I like to have my spells in. Start looking for neither of those. That's fine. We did need the third land eventually anyway. But here, if we had drawn a soul land there, and been able to show and tell, we could have just gone Omniscience, Cunning Wish, kill them. But, alas. Right. Goblin Guide us, please, opponent. Another Swift Spear. Goblin Guide isn't that expensive on MTGO either. Maybe this is prowess after all. But I'd expect to see things like Fire Dart then. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Alright, Force of Will, not bad. I don't want to mess with my Scry, so I'm going to crack Flooded Strand first. And we'll leave the Astrolabe on top. It's... Actually... No, we won't. Oh, there you go. Saying if we had drawn another 1-mana cantrip, it would have been pretty good. If we have to force, we'll force pitching another force. Don't like losing the card advantage, but if there's an Eidolon coming down this time, we will stop it. Chain Lightning is fine. You can't just go around countering every 3 damage burn spell by giving up 2 cards and a life. Won't exactly win you very many games of Legacy there. You just counter the ones that matter. So this turn, we've taken 5 damage. Excellent. Ponder. Could have been better, obviously, but... Draw the Preordain. No shuffle. We have nothing in our deck that we currently want to cast except for the Ice Fang. So I'll just go ahead and grab another island. Cast Preordain. Look for that dang show and tell. Bottom. Another Omniscience. So now one of our forces will be pitching an Omniscience. Next turn, if we don't draw anything, we might Cunning Wish for Intuition, Intuition for 3 show and tells, but I think that's going to be too slow. Nope. We will be more than happy that they end-step bolted us instead of main phase bolting us. That technically gains us a life. It also speaks poorly about our chances if our opponent decided they could give up that point of damage, though. Means they likely have a lot of burn spells in their hand, potentially just 3 bolts. First one's fine. And we're dead if they have 2 more anyway. That's getting Force of Willed. If we have to force again, we're pitching Cunning Wish, but I'm 90% sure that we have no way to come back from that. So if they pretty sure that's just straight up going to kill us no matter what here. Let's see. Gonna look at my sideboard. Alright, I could find next turn anything that would deal with the Swift Spear. No. So I'll pitch the, let's see, Show and Tell, put in Omniscience, yeah. Pretty sure we're just done here. We're gonna take 3, 4, no, that's actually still lethal. even just this turn. That's pretty sweet. I'll let them swing in, have their fun. And wish our opponent good health as well. There we go. What would we have gotten? Huh, we weren't getting there. For shame. That is the downside of this deck, is we can just kind of spin our wheels sometimes, and it is unfortunate. We do need to draw show and tell most games. Most games do not, in fact, revolve around just hard casting and omniscience, as fun as that would be if they did. And we have a bite. Let's see what happens this time around. Multiple show and tell, spell, pierce, preordain, brainstorm, force of will. We just need to find lands and a thing to put in. I'll keep this. It's going to be a slower hand than normal, though. Bobo Baggins over there. And I think we actually like both of those. We'll try and protect our ponder, because we do need counter spells, or we do need a cantrip still. Just in case of a random Cabal Therapy naming ponder, normally it's Force of Will. You never know what your opponent's gonna do though. And if it's not, it's normally Brainstorm. Alright, so this might be Turbo Depths, this might be Elves. No real way to tell yet. Elves would use this to grab Gaia's Cradle. Turbo Depths would use it to grab much scarier cards. I'll go ahead and Brainstorm here, because I can use my Ponder more effectively post-Brainstorm. Go ahead and get rid of the second Show and Tell and the Spell Pierce. Play Crack and Fetch. Grab a Island. Cast Ponder. So no matter what, that wants to be the bottom card. Neither way is this the most efficient thing to do. However, it might be the thing that buys us the most time. If it's Elves, we're kind of screwed. If it's Dark Depths, this does buy us a decent amount of time to do whatever. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle though. There we go. I think it's just a little too slow, and while it would be nice to have something to trade up against their Elvish Reclaimer, if that becomes a thing, right now all we're actually looking for is an Omniscience, and we've got it. And it very specifically needs to be Omniscience because of that Karakas being able to bounce Emeralds. Alright, so it is Turbo. It's green-white depths. Alright. Okay. Arkham's Astrolabe first, because it sees the most cards with Ponder. This way, this turn, we'll get to see more cards than if we had done that the other way around. It is less likely that we kill this turn, though. We don't need a second Astrolabe. We don't need the Show and Tell. We do eventually... We don't even really need the Emrakul. We need an Omniscience, so... And it's all because of the Karakas. So I think I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this one as well. Trying to think what I can do with Cunning Wish otherwise. Yeah, nothing that I like enough. Oh, there we have it. Next turn is our turn. Notably, I'm not going to fetch. There's no reason to. I don't know the positions of any cards in my library, and therefore don't need to shuffle anything either in or away. It's also more useful to keep that fetch land in reserve in case of a future brainstorm, for instance, in case of a great many things, honestly. Could want to grab a Mystic Sanctuary. Alright, so if our opponent ever managed to get to a Dark Depths, we would be in a lot of trouble. As things stand, however, we are just going to win on our turn. Okay. City of Traders. Show and tell. And drop the Omni. See what our opponent plops into play. And notably, there is no way to stop a Emrakul with Karakas if you have an Omniscience, because the Emrakul will... Alright, so let's see. Here, my opponent wouldn't die, so I'm just going to grab Firemines and go for the actual kill to avoid any kind of shenanigans. So I'll grab Cunning Wish, Impulse, Brainstorm, cast Impulse, find a Ponder. I feel like finding Ice Fang is better because it shuffles things around for the Brainstorm, but no, that doesn't seem right. Ponder. There we go. So we'll draw the Omniscience, because that makes the Emrakul on top. Cast. Yes. Grab Release the Ants. And now to show you why I don't like doing this. Notably, we can still Brainstorm into casting the Emrakul. And the opponent has seen enough. And that's how the Firemines Foresight kill works. Let's see. Against Turbo, I think this is just another we leave everything as it is matchup. No, because this is green-white. Normally, against the green-black, we'd bring in the Veils. No real reason to do that here. Maybe bring in Return to Nature for Sylvan Libraries. Yeah, I think we will. Just to have a card that does something. Trickbind, I think we'd rather wish for. I guess the Intuition? No, we'd rather wish for that if we need to. You know, I'll bring in the Return to Nature. Notably, I could also go for Trickbind to stop their combo. Which, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I like it. Yeah, I think I like Trickbind more. Yeah. Because I'm not really going to wish for it. I'd rather let them have it and then wish for it. I guess I would. I'd rather not wish for it. Or wish for the Echoing Truth because of their amount of protection. It's important to know what you can Trickbind, by the way. And I don't actually remember what part of the combo you can Trickbind. So let's see. This hand does nothing against a potential turn 2 combo deck. Find a Show and Tell, and it does nothing. Alright, so this isn't great. But once again, we can mulligan fairly aggressively. Alright, on the power of the Brainstorm and the potential for a turn 2 kill, I will keep this one. Shuffle away 2 lands. There we go. So if we draw a Show and Tell, then we get to just show and tell Omniscience Cunning Wish game with a brainstorm. Hopefully, if it's naturally drawn, we'll have something as backup for whatever kind of nonsense they put into play. But it's not entirely necessary. Or sorry, not necessary. Not entirely likely. Alright. We're going to just aim on naturally drawing. We want maximum value out of that brainstorm in case of it's in its failure state of you just put cards back on top of your deck and didn't really do anything. Brainstorming and getting rid of the cards is incredibly powerful. Brainstorming and keeping them there is, well, it's powerful if you win that turn, but otherwise it is not really on par with what Legacy is. If you can win or if you need to find something, absolutely go for the brainstorm. But if not, don't rush it. Okay, for one, I have no idea what this could be that I'd be afraid of. I think it's going to be something proactive, not something defensive. Alright, so next turn they can go for the 2020, I believe. So we will brainstorm. Alright. Goodbye, City of Traders and Misty Rainforest. Flooded Strand, and we will pass. So they can float a green, tap 2, sacrifice their forest, grab a Dark Depths, and if they have a soul land, they can go for it. Alright, Ice Fang no longer going to be anywhere near good enough. They can make the 2020 next turn with what they've kept up. We're going to show a basic island. Not good. Anything in my board? Not that I want to grab. We don't have the time to Cunning Wish for Intuition in this matchup, so we're going to just Ice Fang for what we need. So our opponent gets the 2020, but it won't have haste, which is something that I'm not entirely sure they are capable of doing. They'll also make it during our end step, so an Emrakul alone will not be good enough here. Oh, they'll make it now. Okay. Emrakul is now good enough, because it will wipe their board. At least an Emrakul with a show and tell. Absurd song and dance. We will notably be walking here, because we'll be able to, if they try and protect this, we'll be able to get their Merit Lage. Actually, we won't be. Because then we'd be able to attempt, if we need to. Alright, so let's see. We have an out now. It requires we play Ancient Tomb, and we're going to need to Cunning Wish when they try and give their token protection to swing past us. In response, we will Cunning Wish for an Echoing Truth, and Echoing Truth the Merit Lage, and if not, we have an extra turn anyway. So I think we have game here, especially if they tap that. Alright, so they might have Sajiri step. If they have Sajiri step, then we're just dead. Grab Echoing Truth. And I'm pretty sure they do have Sajiri step, and they're just going to sacrifice their... Alright, make sure I have the right target here. And they're going to sacrifice their land to their guy. Yep. No? They're putting more lands in their graveyard for some reason. Yeah, here comes the step. And we've lost. Alright, so that gives it pro blue, that gives it, doesn't really matter, we take 20 damage and lose this game. Alright, if they'd tried to play it safe, or if they didn't have the land there, what we could have done is playing it safe by just, you know, swinging in and letting the Ice Fang chump for a turn. Then we go Cunning Wish into Intuition, or Impulse, to Intuition, grab 3 Show and Tells on our turn with it, cast Show and Tell, and go for the combo. Alas, our opponent had double protection, which is not uncommon. Just a thing you've got to be ready for. I think we played to our outs there, and going for it was less likely to try and, or was less likely to win us the game there. If I had something to put into play with a Show and Tell, I'd keep this hand, because I could turn 2 look for it, turn 3 deploy and win. But I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this as it is. I'm going to mulligan this too. I think we can do better still. Alright, this is actually fine. We're going to keep this hand. Put away the Spell Pierce. We'll put away a Ponder. And we have the ability to go Island Lead on Preordain because it gives us the most flexibility with our Ponder next turn. Bottom the Misty. Top the Ancient Tomb. And now, I am debating, because this is a Caracas matchup, if we do want to just jam the turn 2 Emrakul. I don't think that's where we want to be, though. Especially because they have so many things they could do to find it. They probably have 2 copies of Caracas. Okay, we can't do that now. Because if we do that, does that come into play tapped? Alright, so that would come in tapped. So there's a chance we just win. There's a chance we just lose. Finding, if we don't do it this turn, we lose that option. So it's a game of, do I think I'll find Omniscience? I think it's better to go for it. They need to have Caracas either in their hand or on top. Otherwise, we get the Emrakul swing. No. I don't think we need to. Their clock isn't fast enough. I think we can find the Omniscience. And we did. Okay. Do not shuffle. Deploy trap. They wasteland us, honestly. Because if they delay their turn, that's fine. Alright, so there, I was tempted to, just because we would lose the option to in the future, and being able to get in a swing with Emrakul is basically all it takes to win most games. But I did think it was too likely to just lose in the long run. I think they were too likely to have it. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle away the last land. Grab an island. Cast Show and Tell. This is still our second weakest combo, but our second weakest combo being... that was another concern. Was that they might have things like that. And I was about to say, that's why it's our second weakest. Is our opponent could have things that come into play and kill omniscience. And now we're in a really bad spot. Our opponent gets to keep this up and either find a no, they still kept it up. And they get to either find a Caracas or or the Dark Depths to kill me next turn. I'm not sure why they attacked with the Rejuvenator there. I'm gonna go ahead and leave up Force of Will in case they have crop rotation. I'm trying to... Now, when I say I don't know, I'm not saying they're making a mistake. I'm saying that there's something I'm not playing around that I should be aware of. Alright, so... I suppose the reason was that they just had the Dark Depths, although... To me, that also means they had a Caracas in hand. Ow! Sorry, banged my leg into the table while trying to adjust myself. Well, if we have any way to win here, it involves this Brainstorm. I don't believe we have an out. If I show and tell in an Emrakul, that's nowhere near good enough. So let's put both of those to the bottom. And who knows, maybe they don't make the 2020 because they don't feel pressured. Maybe they find a fetch land and attack us for a lot. Alas, it was not the case. And there you have it. And so there, maybe it was still correct. I'm kind of convinced from that attack that they had the Caracas anyway. And the Emrakul is more likely to win. They just have more ways of finding a Caracas. They have crop rotations. At least I believe the green-white version still has them. And they have, you know, the potential just have it in hand. Whereas with the card that would come into play and kill it, I believe they only have one. So I played to the odds there, and you don't always win when you do that. Alright, let's see. We will play first. We will not keep a no-land hand. So we'd been the Ancient Tomb, turn 1 Preordain, turn 2 Impulse Brainstorm, well, Impulse or Brainstorm. We get to look at a lot of new cards with this hand, but I'm not sure that it has the makings of a winning hand, so we'll mull down the 5. Alright, this is fun. We'll bin, land, and this hand doesn't get to keep Force of Will because we've gone to 5. Keeping the fetch land in case we need to, you know, shuffle away. I think this is just going to be an any order shuffle. We don't need another Omniscience, and we don't need a spell. Alright. We're show and tell away from winning next turn. Alright, so this might actually be the mirror match. Could also be Miracles. Should be highly unfortunate for us. If it's the mirror match, though, we're in good shape, and if it's Miracles, we don't need to go for it right away. So I'm just going to deploy a Misty. My reason being, if it's the mirror match, then we just get to deploy an Omniscience and kill them at instant speed. And if it's not, I think we're better served waiting. Did not really think too much there. Like I said, I haven't played Legacy for a while. Chalice of the Void doesn't hurt us too much, so we're not going to force that when we could still just top deck and win. Alright, there we go. This isn't the best, because we don't have something to immediately pitch, but we'll also play around soft permission here. Then again, we're playing around Force of Will and Force of Negation. I don't think they're really... I guess we'll play around them having... not really trying to talk myself into this as much as it might sound like that. I'm trying to, like, see what's going on here. So, if I go for it, I don't get to have the Cunning Wish, but I get to put into play the Omniscience if it resolves, assuming one counterspell. If I wait, they get to hold up hardcast Force of Negation and have Force of Will. And I have to play through Hand Disruption. Alright, the Hand Disruption potential is the tilting factor here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cast Show and Tell. Excellent. Put in an Omniscience. I'm going to stop them from doing that immediately. And there we have it. Oh, my opponent dropped from the game. I don't think they wanted to play against Omni. Can't exactly blame them, so let's go ahead and play against this person. First, yes. Alright, so once again, this hand needs a little bit too much, so we're going to go ahead and mull. We have a Show and Tell, we just need something to put into play with it. I'll keep. I'll bin the Forest. Here we'll find just a basic island. Cast Preordain. Play against them. And this will be my last game of the day before I go back tomorrow. Playing a little Legacy mostly because I needed a break from all the standard. Let's check my video length here. Ooh, already over an hour. Alright, this one's running a bit long then. Alright, so this hand has the mana. I'm almost able to just cast an Omniscience, but that's not the plan. This one I'll keep. I just need the mana. I'm gonna get rid of the Ice Fang, I think. I'll keep the second Show and Tell so that I can fight through any potential counterspells. And fight through counterspells just by going to resolve a second Show and Tell. You don't always need to win that turn. Sometimes you can just wait until the next one. We're also wasteland proof, it is worth noting, so we can go Island Ponder with no fear of getting our land blown up. Ooh. Okay. We might just be dead here. They have a companion? Oh, yeah, it's Gyruda. It is the Menace. Wait, what? Why did they leave the game? That's weird. They had us here. They crack both Lion's Eye Diamonds. They play Gyruda. They mill through their deck and they kill us. Alright, I don't know what that one was. Well, I suppose the video has already gotten kind of long, so I'll go ahead and see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day. This has been Zerda, and please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Ciao.